Good evening. Glad you're with us, everybody. I'm Steve Dunn.
And I'm Natalie Marmion. Welcome to K2 News at 5. K2 was first to report the news. One of the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives is in custody.
Accused family killer Christian Longo is in a Houston, Texas jail tonight. The 27-year-old Longo arrived at Bush Intercontinental Airport this morning, accompanied by FBI agents. Longo was arrested by Mexican authorities and the FBI last night at a beach resort in Mexico.
We have team coverage of the Longo arrest. Elaine Murphy will have more on how Longo was arrested, including the tip that led the FBI to him. Anna Song, who broke the news of the arrest, is in Michigan, where she talked today with members of the Mary Jane Longo family.
And as you can see, K2's Bob High is on the Oregon coast tonight with word on whether Christian Longo will face the death penalty.
The news of what happened to the Longo family was broadcast far and wide, and last week it caught the attention of a woman in Montreal, Canada.
She called the FBI to say she had seen Christian Longo. Elaine Murphy has the story of how Longo was captured. Elaine, what happened?
Well, the woman had actually just returned from a trip to Cancun where she met a man who first introduced himself as Brad. Well, the next time she saw him, he told her his name was Mike. She had some suspicions, as you might imagine. The man she met was actually Christopher Longo, changing names to try to avoid arrest. FBI agents led Christopher Longo out of the airport in Houston less than 24 hours after they caught up with him in Mexico. Longo had been placed on the FBI's 10 most wanted list Friday, and that night, the FBI got a call from a woman in Montreal who thought she had seen him.
The woman said she arrived in Cancun on December 27th of 2001, and that date met him named Brad, staying at a Cancun youth hostel.
The FBI asked her to watch the profile of Longo on America's Most Wanted to see if that really was the same man she had seen. It was.
Once we realized the youth hostel that he had been staying in Cancun, inquiry there determined that he had been asked to leave and left sometime around January 7th.
Longo was asked to leave following reports of money stolen from guests. Longo had talked of going to Tulum, about 60 miles south of Cancun. His accommodations were primitive there, a grass hut on the beach. Sunday night, a little after 6, 20 Mexican police and FBI agents surrounded Longo. His run ended.
He voluntarily agreed to accompany the FBI agents to the airport, where he got on a Continental Airlines jet and flew from Cancun to Houston,
where he was held on federal charges of flight to avoid prosecution. Because Longo agreed to return to the U.S. with the FBI, there was no deal-making with the Mexican government. Now, Mexico usually refuses to extradite fugitives when there's the possibility that they could face the death penalty, and obviously that didn't happen in this case.
Elaine, thank you. And K2's Anna Song was the first to report news of Christian Longo's capture.
She broke the news after speaking with members of Mary Jane Longo's family, and she joins us live from Detroit, Michigan. Anna, how is that family doing tonight?
They're thrilled, frankly, Natalie. I received the call this morning from the sister-in-law of Mary Jane Longo. She had just gotten off the phone with FBI agents who told her that Christian Longo had been captured in Mexico. This was the call the family had been waiting for weeks since this ordeal began.
Bob and I put that this man killed my sister and her 3 kids. He may be in your area. Please help us find him.
Every day for at least an hour, Kathy Baker has been spreading the word about Christian Longo over the internet.
I've sent him to Acapulco. I've sent him to Puerto Vallarta, Cancun, Mexico.
And in one of those cities, Tulum, Mexico, Christian Longo's run from the law caught up with him.
It just feels like something's been lifted off, for sure.
The first call Kathy made after hearing from the FBI was to her husband, Mark Baker, Mary Jane's brother. He says news of Longo's capture doesn't erase the pain of losing his sister, but at least now justice will be served.
The kids, too, you know, they didn't even know right from wrong, and they never got to live a life or to be happy or sad or whatever, you know. That part still hurts, and it always will hurt. But at least we have some closure. At least we know he's not out sitting on the beach having a drink or thinking he got away with something, because he did not get away with it, and he won't get away with it.
Baker says he knows the first place he'll go this evening when he gets off work, the Ypsilanti Cemetery, where Mary Jane and her children were buried just last week. Their graves are so new, headstones have yet to mark them.
I'll be able to go to Mary Jane tonight and tell her that he's been caught. And that means a lot to us. at least now we can move on.
We also heard today from one of Mary Jane Longo's sisters. Her interview is coming up at 6:30. That's the latest from Michigan. Steve and Natalie, back to you.
Anna, thank you. At least we know the family has some relief at this point. Thanks, Anna.
Thanks, Anna. Let's get an update now from Houston, where Longo is in jail tonight. Here's Deborah Wrigley.
Christian Longo is now here at the Harris County Jail. He arrived in Houston this morning. Since then, Longo has been in FBI custody, but because he voluntarily agreed to return to the States, no federal fugitive charges will be pressed. Longo, in the meantime, will remain here at the jail awaiting extradition. For the present, his bond has been set at nearly $1 million. I'm Deborah Wrigley, reporting in Houston for K2 News. Now back to you.
And K2's Paul Bookday is just arriving in Houston tonight. He'll have a complete report of the next step in the investigation tonight on K2 News at 11 o'clock.
That upcoming court hearing in Texas could determine how long it will take to return Christian Longo to Oregon.
K2's Bob High is live in Newport with an exclusive interview with Lincoln County's top prosecutor. Tell us about it, Bob.
That's right, Steve and Natalie. Lincoln County District Attorney Bernice Barnett is relieved that Longo is finally in custody, as you can understand. If Christian Longo waives extradition, Barnett says he could be back in Lincoln County in a matter of days, even a matter of hours. Lincoln County investigators are already in Houston waiting to bring Longo back here to Oregon. As far as Longo facing the death penalty, while Mexico has in the past refused to send back suspects facing the death penalty, Barnett confirms here in this case there is no deal.
Mr. Longo voluntarily came back into the United States. I have made no agreements with any governments whatsoever, and that would be all I would want to say about that subject.
That means Longo may still face the death penalty here in Lincoln County for murdering his wife and 3 children. Lincoln County investigators traveled to Houston today to talk to Longo if possible and eventually escort him back here to Lincoln County. When that will happen still remains up in the air. Stephen, Natalie?
Okay, Bob, thank you. Now, along the Oregon coast where the bodies of Mary Jane Longo and her children were found, word of Christian Longo's arrest spread quickly this morning.
K2's Deanna Connell is also live in Newport tonight. Deanna?
Stephen, Natalie, a sense of relief for 2 coastal communities literally caught in the middle of this tragedy. Many I talked with say their hearts have ached for the Longo children and Mary Jane, and today they finally felt a bit of closure. The tragedy has been like a dark cloud that won't go away, hovering over the coastal communities of Waldport and Newport.
Just horrendous. It's more than you can fathom.
I think that's probably the worst crime that anybody could commit, is to hurt your family.
Residents say news of Christian Longo's capture is some of the best news they've heard in weeks.
Yippee! Good.
Yeah.
Hey, you can run, but you can't hide.
Of great relief. Really glad.
And I can still hear those laughing voices, you know.
Those laughing voices of the Longo children still haunt Beth Frost. She lives 2 doors down from the Waldport area beach house the Longo family rented when they first moved to Oregon.
I hope that they can get to the bottom of this and find out why the man did what he did. And I assume, of course, we're all assuming that he did it.
Days before anyone knew who the victims were or where they came from, Waldport residents claimed the Longo children as their own. People who had never met Mary Jane Longo or her 3 kids held vigils and a memorial in their honor. A pastor who helped organize one of the gatherings says there are still more questions than answers to why 4 beautiful lives were taken away.
And I don't know that his capture is really going to bring closure either until maybe we find out why, or who can understand.
And I learned today the community of Waldport is working to establish a permanent memorial for the Longo family victims. They've started a fund at the Umpqua Bank in town. Steve and Natalie, someone has already volunteered to do the etching and stonework for that memorial. That's the latest from Newport. Back to you.
A whole lot of people relieved tonight. Deanna Connell, Newport. Thank you, Deanna. And investigators give media coverage credit for helping them find Longo. Both the FBI and the lead investigating agency say one particular show helped lead to Longo's capture.
Ed Teachout is in the newsroom with details on this. Ed?
Well, Natalie, while it's unclear at this time exactly where that Canadian woman who tipped the FBI first saw pictures of the fugitive Christian Longo, the FBI wanted her to watch one specific show, America's Most Wanted.
All their friends called Christian and Mary Jane Longo the perfect couple. Preppy, stylish, seemingly very happy.
The Lincoln County DA says America's Most Wanted played a big part in getting widespread word out about Christian Longo. On Friday, the same day promos for the show began to air, the tip came in that Longo was in Mexico. And as we've learned, the FBI asked the tipster to watch America's Most Wanted to make sure she'd seen the same person. Less than 24 hours later, Longo was arrested.
We in no way want to be taking credit for cases that we didn't solve, but John Walsh has been all over the media last week publicizing this story, and the end result is he's in custody, so for us that's good enough.
While 2 days is a very short time for any fugitive to be on the FBI's Most Wanted list, it's not the shortest time. Billy Austin Bryant, who fatally shot 2 FBI members in 1969, was arrested only 2 hours after making the list. In fact, of 458 people who have made the Most Wanted list, 429 have been captured. Nearly 140 of those were caught just like Longo, as a direct result of a tip from someone seeing them through the media. As to why Longo went willingly to the U.S., where he may now face the death penalty, America's Most Wanted may have an answer. They were the first to interview Longo's father about his past brushes with the law.
He told him one of his greatest strengths would be how he could verbally talk himself out of just about any situation, and through his fine looks and his charm, he could do things that no one would ever suspect.
Now, America's Most Wanted has helped capture nearly 700 fugitives since the show began 14 years ago. This Saturday, the show will have a follow-up story on the complete capture of Christian Longo. Back to you guys.
Ed Teachout from our newsroom. Thank you, Ed.
Now look at the Christian Longo case up to the minute. He is being held in the Harris County, Texas jail. An extradition hearing will be held tomorrow morning at the Harris County District Courthouse. His bail has been set at nearly $1 million. The Lincoln County District Attorney says she has made a decision about whether she will seek the death penalty in this case, but will not announce it until later.